For 20 episodes, we have walked through history. Worst men and women, cult leaders, serial killers, dictators, conquerors. Tonight, the round one finale. The two names that have shadowed every previous episode of this series. The two leaders responsible for more deaths than any human beings in the 20th century. Between them, they killed more people than the Black Death. Tonight, Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin. Two completely different ideologies. One question: who was truly the most dangerous human being who has ever lived? Welcome to the round one finale of Evil versus Evil, Monsters of History. This is episode 20. Born in Braunau am Inn, Austria, in 1889, Adolf Hitler was the fourth of 6 children of Alois, a customs official with a violent temper, and his much younger third wife, Clara. Only Adolf and his sister Paula would survive childhood. Alois beat his son regularly. Clara doted on him. Her death from breast cancer when he was 18 would be the only loss Hitler ever publicly admitted broke him. He failed at school. He failed at art. He applied twice to the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts and was rejected both times. He spent 5 years in Vienna as a homeless drifter, sleeping in shelters, painting watercolor postcards for spare change, and reading the anti-Semitic pamphlets that filled his head with the conspiracy theories that would eventually murder millions. In 1914, 25-year-old Hitler volunteered for the German army. He served as a regimental dispatch runner on the Western Front. He was awarded the Iron Cross First Class for bravery, rare for an enlisted man. He was gassed and temporarily blinded in 1918. He was lying in a military hospital, his eyes bandaged, when news arrived that Germany had surrendered. Something inside him snapped. He returned to Munich in 1919, joined a tiny political party called the German Workers' Party, and within 2 years had taken it over. He renamed it the National Socialist German Workers' Party, the Nazi Party. He attempted to overthrow the Bavarian government in a beer hall putsch in 1923 and failed. He served 13 months in prison, where he dictated Mein Kampf, the book that laid out, in stunning specificity, every atrocity he intended to commit. For the next decade, he campaigned. He had perfected, by the early 1930s, the political speech as religious revival. On January 30th, 1933, after years of street battles, electoral failures, and backroom deals, he was appointed Chancellor of Germany. Within 6 months, he had used the burning of the Reichstag as a pretext to declare emergency powers, abolish every other political party, and make himself absolute dictator. What followed is the most extensively documented horror in human history. The Nuremberg Laws of 1935. The Anschluss with Austria in 1938. The Kristallnacht pogrom. The invasion of Poland on September 1st, 1939. That started World War II. The Holocaust, which murdered 6 million European Jews and another 5 million Roma, Slavs, disabled people, political prisoners, and gay men in industrial death camps designed by German engineers and operated by German bureaucrats. The total death toll of the war Hitler started is estimated at 60 to 85 million people, including civilian famine and disease. It remains the deadliest conflict in human history. On April 30, 1945, with Soviet troops less than 2 blocks from the Reich Chancellery in Berlin, Hitler married his longtime mistress Eva Braun, ate a final meal, retreated to a small room with his new wife, and shot himself in the head. He was 56 years old. His body was carried into the garden of the bunker, soaked in gasoline, and set on fire by his aides. That was Adolf Hitler, the corporal who turned a failed coup into the worst war humanity has ever known. Born in Gori, in the Georgian region of the Russian Empire, in 1878, Iosif Vissarionovich Tsugashvili was the third son of a poor Georgian cobbler and his devoutly religious wife. His two older brothers had died in infancy. Iosif was small, sickly, smallpox-scarred, and physically deformed. His left arm never grew properly. Two of his toes were fused together. His father was a vicious alcoholic who beat him so severely that, as an adult, he reportedly never allowed anyone to touch his back. His mother prayed for him daily and saved every coin she could to send him to seminary. He was a brilliant student. He excelled at the Tiflis Theological Seminary, where he was being trained to become a Russian Orthodox priest. There, instead, he discovered Marx. He was expelled in 1899. He took the name Stalin, meaning man of steel. He spent the next 18 years robbing banks, organizing strikes, evading the Tsarist secret police, and serving multiple stints in Siberian exile. When the Russian Revolution finally came in 1917, Stalin was 40 years old and a minor figure inside the Bolshevik leadership. Lenin took him on as a useful enforcer. He was appointed General Secretary of the Communist Party in 1922, a position considered so administratively boring that no one else wanted it. Within 6 years, he had used that secretarial position to control every party appointment in the Soviet Union and to outmaneuver every rival, including the brilliant Leon Trotsky, who fled into exile and was eventually murdered with an ice axe in Mexico City on Stalin's orders. By 1929, Stalin was the unchallenged ruler of the Soviet Union. The forced collectivization of agriculture between 1929 and 1933 killed an estimated 5 to 8 million peasants. The Ukrainian famine of 1932 and 1933, the Holodomor, was a deliberately engineered starvation that killed another 3 to 7 million Ukrainians. The Great Purge of 1936 through 1938 saw between 700,000 and 1.2 million Soviet citizens executed, often after public show trials. The Gulag system imprisoned tens of millions, of whom at least 1.5 million died in the camps. Entire ethnic groups were forcibly deported in cattle cars to Central Asia, where hundreds of thousands died en route. Stalin signed a non-aggression pact with Hitler in August 1939. The two dictators divided Poland and the Baltic states between them. The pact lasted 22 months. On June 22, 1941, Hitler invaded the Soviet Union with the largest invasion force in history. Stalin, blindsided, suffered an apparent nervous breakdown for several days before recovering and leading the Soviet Union through what Russians still call the Great Patriotic War. The Soviet Union lost an estimated 27 million people in that war, more than any other nation. He emerged in 1945 as one of the 3 most powerful men on Earth. He continued to purge his own population for another 8 years. He was preparing a fresh wave of show trials, the so-called doctor's plot, when he suffered a massive cerebral hemorrhage at his dacha outside Moscow on March 5th, 1953. He was 74 years old. His own bodyguards left him lying on the floor for hours, too afraid to enter the room. That was Joseph Stalin, the seminarian who became the most successful political killer in human history. Now let us put these two men side by side for the last time this round. Category 1, body count. Hitler is responsible for somewhere between 15 million and 25 million direct civilian deaths, plus tens of millions more in the war he started. Stalin is responsible for between 15 million and 25 million direct deaths from purges, famines, deportations, and the Gulag. The numbers, depending on how you count, are nearly identical. Call this category a tie. Category 2, ideological reach. Hitler's National Socialism died with him in 1945. surviving only in fringe movements. Stalin. Soviet communism shaped the political landscape of half the planet for another 46 years and is still alive in modified form in China, Cuba, North Korea, and Vietnam today. The edge is Stalin. Category 3. Personal cruelty and paranoia. Hitler killed enemies he believed were threats to his racial vision. Stalin killed his own friends, his own generals, his own family. He had his eldest son's wife exiled. He let his eldest son Yakov die in a German prison camp rather than negotiate his release. He drove his second wife Nadezhda to suicide. Hitler's evil was directed outward. Stalin's evil came home to dinner every night. The edge is Stalin. Category 4. Length and durability of rule. Hitler ruled Germany for 12 years and destroyed it. Stalin ruled the Soviet Union for 29 years and left it as one of 2 global superpowers. The edge is Stalin. Category 5. Cultural legacy. Hitler became the global symbol of evil itself. His name is the universal shorthand for any political comparison gone too far. Stalin, despite killing comparable numbers, has been treated with strange historical leniency. He has been quoted by leaders, written about admiringly by some historians, and is still the subject of revival movements in modern Russia. The edge in being universally despised is Hitler. The edge in being culturally rehabilitated is Stalin. Call this category Stalin. So the category split 4-0 in favor of Stalin, with 1 tie. But this is the round 1 finale. Categories alone cannot capture what these 2 men were. Here is the wild card. They were briefly allies. The Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact of August 1939 carved up Eastern Europe between them. For 22 months, the 2 most dangerous human beings of the 20th century were partners. Imagine if that pact had held. No Operation Barbarossa, no German invasion of the Soviet Union. Hitler turns instead toward Britain and the Middle East. Stalin consolidates his grip on Eastern Europe. The Battle of Stalingrad never happens. The Soviets never reach Berlin. Germany possibly wins the European War by 1942. The Holocaust accelerates. The Cold War never happens, because there is only one totalitarian superpower instead of 2. The world Hitler wanted and the world Stalin wanted would have become, for a long, terrifying moment, the same world. The verdict. By the categories, Joseph Stalin wins. He killed comparable numbers, ruled longer, built a more durable state, and was treated more gently by history than the man he briefly partnered with. By raw, personal, intimate, decades-long evil, Stalin is the more dangerous of the 2. But here is the part that should disturb you. Hitler became the global cartoon villain. He is the dictator your child can name. Stalin, who killed comparable numbers, hid behind ideology, language, and Allied victory, and is still rehabilitated inside his own country. The flashier killer became famous. The patient killer killed longer. Hitler was the symbol. Stalin was the survivor. The winner of this matchup is Stalin. The face on every textbook is still Hitler. But this is not the end of this series. This is the end of round 1. For 20 episodes, we have crowned 20 winners, 20 figures who proved in head-to-head matchups that they were the more dangerous of the 2. Now those 20 winners face each other. Cult leader against dictator, serial killer against emperor, the mad monk against the philosopher, the corporal against the czar. Every winner from every previous episode goes back into the bracket. Every verdict is now provisional. The next round will not stop until there is only one name left standing. The Tournament of Champions begins next season. The most dangerous human being who has ever lived has not yet been named. Thank you for watching Evil vs. Evil, Monsters of History. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and remember the lesson that runs through every episode of this series. The most dangerous people do not announce themselves. By the time you recognize them, you have already followed them into the dark.